Hello, everybody. This is Carol Maletta. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust. Hello, and welcome back to the Parenting 411 podcast. If you tuned in last time, you were treated to an insightful conversation with Coach Leah Tao, where we explored the world of nurturing young athletes in sports. So continuing on this exciting journey today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Cinnamon Bowser. She is a powerhouse parent in the realm of elite sports. Cinnamon is not just any sports mom. She too was a D1 athlete playing volleyball while in college. Today, she's a D1 mom to 3 champions. Her first champion has already graduated college after enjoying a D1 volleyball career. Her second is making waves in college basketball, and her youngest is in high school still, but he's already getting looks from D1 colleges. So, talk about a full court press in parenting. So, in this episode, Cinnamon will share a unique perspective and experiences, shedding light on the highs and the lows of top tier sports. From navigating the complexities of college recruiting and balancing athletics with academics and personal growth, she's here to offer invaluable advice. So, whether you're a parent dreaming of D1 glory for your child or just fascinated by the journey of elite sports families, this is an episode that you don't want to miss. So we're going to dive right in. Welcome, Cinnamon. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here. And I chuckled during the introduction when you said full court press parenting, because that's really what it is. It just never stops. It's relentless. And sometimes I feel like I'm trapped in the corner or I'm not going to get the ball past half court before the 10-second count. So that was a
Yeah.
great description.
So let's talk about it, especially for parents that have young children, right? What was that like in the beginning, managing academics, family life, and allowing them to explore the sports that they were interested in?
Yeah. So in the beginning, we introduced the kids to a lot of different sports. We did baseball, soccer, volleyball, track and field. Just let them karate, explore different things and see what they were interested in. I think for my daughter Madison, I think she was drawn to volleyball just because she knew that I played volleyball and we had gone to a couple of matches at GW, which is where I went to school. So she got an early introduction to the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew that basketball was not for her because she was not into the physical contact. Um, and then the boys, in the beginning, it's just rec center. We were just going to their local rec center, taking nice little easy classes, intro classes, and letting them learn their bodies and explore different sports. So it was great in the beginning. It's still great now, but in the beginning, it's just really letting kids develop and see where their interest actually lies. We
Mm-hmm.
also had piano in there, some piano, violin, chorus, all sorts of activities.
Yes, we took a similar approach with our children as well. And I had to chuckle when you said she went for volleyball because she didn't like the physical contact, because that's exactly why I chose volleyball, because I played a lot of sports, even did gymnastics, if you can believe that. But after my growth spurt in the
Mhm.
summer of 8th grade, everybody was like, oh, you have to play basketball. You have to play basketball. And there were two things. I mean, first of all, I will say that I was a good shooter, like just in the neighborhood shooting baskets, great at that. But after having explored so many other sports, I just didn't want to learn the rules for a new sport. I was almost lazy. Can you believe that in 8th grade? But I didn't want to learn the rules for a new sport, and then the physical contact. I just didn't want to do that. And it's interesting because my mother and her 3 sisters played basketball. They, grew up in North Carolina, and one of my sisters, one of her sisters, played at North Carolina Central for,
Oh,
was his name Leroy Walker?
yes, Dr. Leroy
She
Walker.
played, yes, she played for him. So it was
Oh,
in my blood. And I had a cousin who also grew up in Smithfield, North Carolina, and she was a star. I mean, as in making all the newspapers and all of that. And I
mhm.
was hanging out with her every summer when I went down to spend time with my grandparents and cousins down in North Carolina. So I had her there. She could have taught me the game, but I didn't take advantage of it.
So, Carol, you're from Durham? Your family's from Durham? Or where was Dr. Walker at the time?
I think wasn't he at North Carolina Central? My parents,
Right.
both my parents grew up in North Carolina.
Okay.
Yes, and so my aunt went to school there at North Carolina Central, and that's where she
Okay.
played for him. And then she became a math teacher,
Okay.
middle school math teacher, and so she settled in Smithfield. And
That
so,
is fascinating
right.
because you reminded me my mother also played basketball and my aunts. So her sisters, they all played basketball in Texas.
Okay.
But then when we moved to Durham, where I grew up,
Mm-hmm.
our neighbor was Dr. Walker.
Oh, okay.
And Dr. Walker, my dad worked at North Carolina Central. He was the provost there. And so he got to know Dr. Walker, and Dr. Walker knew that I was starting out in track and field. And
Mm,
he wrote a book on hurdling, and I was a hurdler. And so I had some training
awesome.
and the benefit of this book from Dr. Walker. So I
Wow.
guess kind of maybe my parents actually started this whole raising champions. So
Right, right,
I kind of just made this connection as you were talking.
right. And I did not really, my mother didn't push it really. She thought I should do it. And then I was like, well, and she'd talk about how she had played basketball. And I was like, oh, well, but it was different then. I mean, the way you all
Right.
played, it's not, I just no respect. But
None.
but at the same time, she didn't really push it. She just liked me to explore activities that I was interested in, and I'd settle on one. And just for some reason, I was just anti basketball. I mean, playing basketball. And then, I go to Cheney University where the amazing Vivian Stringer is. And her team in 1982 plays the very first NCAA women's final.
Mm.
So I was not ready for that moment. I didn't even, like I said, I didn't even understand the game. Didn't really really understand the game until my son started playing basketball. And then I really loved it. And then I
Mhm.
joined a women's league here in my town, through the recreation center for older ladies, women of a certain age. When I turned 50, that's when I started playing basketball. But yeah, it's just funny.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Who knew I would end who knew my life would follow like that? But anyway, I love watching it though, as you probably know. I love it at the collegiate level, and I love the WNBA. I love, the Washington Mystics and all of that. So I can't wait till
It's
that
very
season.
exciting. Yeah.
Mhm. So, when is the ideal time when you want to start focusing on really getting them into a program? Like the interest is caught on, and now it's time to get, maybe a little more serious.
Right. So I think that after you've introduced your young child to sports and they have developed a fondness for a particular sport, then you want to start getting some training. And that age is going to vary for everybody. I think around second and third grade
Okay.
is where you might want to work on just doing some fundamental training, learning
Mm-hmm.
the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which might be it might be a level two class at your rec center. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying at that point anybody needs to, get a private trainer
Right.
or move to a sports academy school, but I think third grade would be a great time to maybe really work on the foundation, so the basic skills
Mm-hmm.
required to excel in that sport. And also, after a couple of seasons at the rec center,
Mm-hmm.
people will start to tell you
Yeah.
that your child has some sort of gift.
Mm-hmm.
They might say, she's really good at this, or he seems like a natural, or they'll encourage you.
Right.
But I think it's helpful to listen to other people who are
Mm-hmm.
telling you to maybe dig a little deeper and see what's there. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for us, both our boys started playing about second or third grade,
Mm-hmm.
playing basketball. Cole was still doing baseball at the same time, and
Mm.
then Madison started with volleyball. Um, I think third grade as well.
Oh, okay. We'll be right back after this. If you're looking to reach a massive audience of parents and caregivers, then look no further than Pro Picks by the Parenting 411, the ultimate marketing program designed to skyrocket your brand to new heights. With Pro Picks, we've created 3 incredible packages to suit your marketing needs and budget. So let's take a look. First up is our social starter package. You'll receive a stunning graphic promo piece, plus we'll also feature your brand on the Parenting 411 Instagram page. It's the perfect way to make a memorable first impression and get parents buzzing about your business. Now, if you're ready to level up, our Parenting Pro package is where it's at. You'll enjoy all the benefits of the social starter package, plus more awesome benefits, including exposure on the Parenting 411 podcast, which reaches parents in more than 22 countries each week. But wait, there's more. For those seeking the pinnacle of marketing power, our Elite Exposure package is the way to go. You'll get even more exposure across our platform, including thousands of followers and connections on LinkedIn. Get ready to dominate the airwaves and establish yourself as the go-to resource for families everywhere. Take advantage of Pro Picks by the Parenting 411 today and unlock unparalleled marketing opportunities for your business. But I should tell you that prices are set to increase on November 1st, so act now. Pro Picks by the Parenting 411 is your passport to the hearts and minds of parents. Visit ProPicksbyP411.com. Join us today and watch the magic happen. And we're back with the Parenting 411. And so, what qualities do you think parents and the athletes themselves should look for in a good coach?
In a good coach, I think I think most people at that age, Carol, really, and I'm talking about coaches working with little kids. Most of the coaches at that age are focused on skill development. They want the kids to have the fundamentals down before they join the travel team, before they start going around to different gyms
Mm-hmm.
practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the main thing, I think it's more important for your child to be coachable than for
Mm.
you to be concerned about who's coaching them.
Good point.
So, is your child and you, because at this point, it's the parents who really are sitting in the stands watching everything. Are you coachable?
Yes.
So, as a parent, I did play volleyball,
Right.
and my daughter was out here now doing volleyball training, but I had to sit back. I
Mm.
had to sit back and let the coach coach and let my daughter be the athlete. And I just became the parent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a program in the beginning, I don't think it's that critical as long
Mm-hmm.
as they're teaching the fundamentals. Now, as you get up, as you become middle school age, then yes, you need to be looking for a coach that has a proven track record. Where do their players go when they finish with that coach?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Good point.
middle school do they go to? Which high school do they go to? Which club teams are they going to? Which colleges do their proteges attend? Are any of them in the pros?
Mhm,
Those are
mhm.
the things you need to be looking at.
Yes. And because it's quite an investment of time and money for the family.
It's a tremendous investment, and I always encourage my families that I work with. It's a recruiting and playing in college, it's a family decision because
Mhm,
it's not just that one athlete, that one child. It's the entire family that's affected. Because
mhm,
when you have a child that's doing travel sports, AAU club, they're going to miss holidays,
mhm.
they're going to miss birthdays, they are going to miss school events like prom,
Mm,
um, homecoming, and that's going to affect the entire family.
right.
There's going to be somebody that's going to want to go to a movie on Saturday at 2 o'clock with their friends, but they're not going to be able to because the whole family is going to be in Pennsylvania at a volleyball tournament. So that's why it's important that it's a sit down conversation that needs to happen with the entire family.
Mhm,
Madison wants to play volleyball in college. This is what we're going to do to help support her in that. Is everybody on board?
mhm,
Boom.
mhm.
That has to happen.
That's an important thing that the whole family buys in and there needs to be a
Yeah.
discussion. There can't be an assumption. But I was also wondering, how is it that you do help families?
I help families, particularly volleyball families right now,
Hmm.
through the recruiting process, through the club process, which is where most of the recruiting happens, and then through the recruiting process,
Mhm,
just primarily helping them to navigate it and remember that it is a marathon and not a sprint.
mhm,
A lot of people start in different places. And so I deal with anxious parents, anxious players like, oh my gosh, I'm a junior already in high school. Is it too late for me?
mm,
Or parents with fifth graders who are asking me, what do we need to be doing now? So we start, their parents way at the beginning and then their parents at the end of the journey. So I help them to navigate the recruiting process. I can contact schools for parents. I can help you find the perfect fit
oh,
for your child.
that's wonderful. That is a wonderful service you provide. I'm glad you're out there because I know there are a lot of parents and their athletes who really need some guidance because there are a whole lot
And
of
I
options out here, but they're not
there are a
always.
lot of options, and there are a lot of I'm going to just say scammers, for lack of a better
That's
word, that are
exactly.
try- that are out there taking advantage of
Mhm.
parents. And what I have found is that a lot of parents, especially volleyball parents, simply don't know
Mm,
what the process is. So
mhm,
I provide information.
mhm,
I provide
mhm,
information, and then on the basketball side, what I see is a lot of parents that are being misled,
mm,
given incorrect information. But
mhm.
that just took me years to weed through all of the all of the charlatans and find one expert, find two people that I could really go to who could provide me with the correct information and tell me who I needed to talk to next. And so
Yeah.
it comes down to building a team. You
Mhm,
have to have a team around you when you're talking about raising champions.
mhm. And so, as a parent, what are the most important ways to support their children's athletic journey?
It's by letting your child lead the process and letting them know that you support them. That's what my job is.
Mhm,
Um, you know, I don't coach my children.
mm,
So after a tournament, if I saw something that I thought was great or if I saw something that I thought was not so great, we might talk about it if they bring it up. But I'm not, that car ride home is not an opportunity for me to scrutinize and criticize everything that happened during the day. It's
mhm,
how do you feel you played today?
mhm,
Is there
mhm,
anything that you want to work on in the next couple of weeks before your next tournament or your next competition?
mhm,
What can
mhm.
I do to support you?
Mhm, mhm.
That's how those
I think that's a good way to do it. I can remember when I took my son, I think we went to Hampton, Virginia for a tournament, basketball tournament, and I think he and his teammates were maybe going having lunch or just doing something together. So I went
Mhm.
out into the car to take a nap.
Yeah.
And so had the seat back, and I guess I guess the father and son got in the next car, didn't know I was there, and oh my
And
goodness.
the dad went off.
And the conversation, and then I was even struck by the language that the son came back to his dad with. I was like,
Oh,
"Oh
wow.
my gosh, what is going on?" I tell you,
Yeah.
because it's
It's
always just been about fun. It was about fun and sharpening your skills as long as you want to.
right.
But we're not saying we're not going to pressure you to keep going. You'll go to college. We got
Right.
that one way or the other. So, as long as you like it and want to keep rising, we're with you. So
Yeah.
that was always the approach that we had.
Yeah. Sadly, Carol, I think that what you witnessed in the car next to you is more common than not.
Mm,
I've seen all sorts of abuse take
mm,
place at tournaments, in the gym, in the car, in the parking lot. It's really bad, and it got to the point where I said, and this was 3 years ago, that if I ever witness somebody that I know, maybe somebody that one of my sons played with, I'm talking about basketball here, right?
mhm,
Um, if I ever witness any type of confrontation like that, I'm going to interrupt it. And
mhm,
not to tell the parent you're wrong, you need to stop, but like maybe to walk up and say, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you." Just give them a break.
mhm,
Stop what's happening right here, but without even letting them know that I see what's happening. You know what I'm
right,
saying? But it
mhm,
has to be interrupted.
mhm,
And I've done that twice. And it
mm,
was a little the first time it was a little nerve-wracking as I was walking up to them.
right.
But I think they appreciated it. And it
Yes,
helps them to kind of like, okay, calm down. This is what are we doing? Why are we in the parking lot fighting like this at
right.
a tournament for 15-year-olds? Like, that's kind of crazy.
Right, right. I didn't know what to do in that moment. I was just
You probably want to
stunned.
just keep your seat down, right? You didn't want to raise up and be,
I was
yeah.
stunned, but I have done something like what you said, where it didn't involve sports at all. It was just a parent, in the way a parent was speaking to their child, and
Yeah,
they noticed me and apologized to me. And I said, "Oh, you don't owe me an apology. I
right.
think you need to talk to your child."
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think parents have a tendency to put their hopes and dreams and aspirations onto their child.
mhm,
And so when their child doesn't perform the way that they want them to or expect them to, they feel disappointed and let down and embarrassed. And that should never be the case. Your
mhm,
child is not out there playing and performing for you.
right.
That's just it's so backwards. And then we have the situation where parents they've spent so much money
Mhm,
and time.
mhm,
They feel like because their child is not starting or is not playing to the best of their ability, that the child is wasting their
right.
time, is wasting their money.
Mhm,
Um, so there are a lot of factors going into it, but
mhm.
yelling and fighting with the child is never the correct response.
Right, and also attacking the referees as well. I'll never forget a Palm Sunday. We were at a
Oh,
tournament, and I just kept looking at my husband saying, "It's Palm Sunday. I can't believe what I'm hearing." And there was, because the calls that the refs were making, it was just unbelievable. And I think there needs to be some balance between pushing them to their limit and also just maintaining a healthy relationship with the sport. So how did you do that?
yeah. It was really by making the recruiting process and their playing sports a family affair.
Mhm.
So whenever possible, all 5 of us would go to tournaments, and we would find new restaurants to try. And it's usually just four of us because the athlete would have to stay with their team. So
Mhm.
we would find new restaurants to try. We would get to know other people on the team, other families.
Mhm.
And then, of course, we're courtside supporting our player, our athlete.
Mhm.
Um, College, the decision to play Division 1, the goal to play Division 1 was set by the children, not by Steve, not by me. So when
Mhm.
the child said that that's what they wanted to do, we
Mhm.
said, okay, we're going to support you in that. And if you ever change your mind about not wanting, that's fine. Just let us know and we'll
Mhm.
pivot.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, as long as the child, the athlete is driving the decision, I don't, and the parent is fine with that and lets them drive it, then everything should be cool. Parents
Right.
need to just play their role, stay in your lane, which is support. It's
Mhm.
love and support.
Mhm.
Let
Mhm.
the coaches and the trainers do the other pieces.
Right, right. Yeah, I I remember when my one son, who actually was more involved in travel and AAU and all of that, decided that he even chose his high school because it was in the WCAC and he wanted to play and he did play freshman and I think he played sophomore year, but it just wasn't a great experience. They had a new coach and all of that. And he just stopped loving basketball. And I just remember when he said it the first time, I'm not going to play basketball anymore. And I was like, what? I can't believe it. But it wasn't so much about college
Right.
aspirations. It was just, I loved going to the games. I loved the whole experience. It's like, you're not going to play. And he said, no, I feel like I'm also missing out on other activities at school. And he was also, a strong student. So his AP classes and honors classes and things like that, he said, I really want to more time into, really put more time into my work. And so he did that. And my goodness, his grades were amazing. He was having a good
Uh,
time. And then he and a couple of other players that had kind of become disenchanted with the
mhm.
basketball as well, played for the rec team
Oh,
and were the champs. But it was
yeah,
interesting to see them on court smiling and as they're passing the ball, as they're
yeah,
doing.
and just free.
Yeah, just they felt so good. I mean, so that worked for them. Like that was kind of what worked for them. So I really agree about following the child's lead and just
Yeah,
see where things go. But
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely,
Now
absolutely.
now that you I want to talk about how you, once you decided, yes, we're really on this D1 journey and recruiting starts. Um, what do you think helped to make your children successful?
My children, they're grassroots programs, so before they hit high school, the
Mm,
clubs and teams that they were playing for
mm-hmm,
had a track record of producing Division 1 athletes.
mm-hmm,
Um, and so that was key. The second piece of that was helping them to understand that playing Division 1 sports is not going to be a life of balance.
oh, okay.
It's going to be a life of volleyball or a life of basketball.
Mm-hmm,
And you have to understand that in high school, really. The
mm-hmm,
sooner you understand that, the better. If that is not what you want, if you need to go to frat parties, if you want to go to football games in college, if you want to join a sorority or fraternity, um, then D1 sports is probably not for you.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And they all agreed that they didn't care about that right now. They love the sport and they wanted to pursue it. And
mm-hmm.
I said, okay, well, let's go.
Yeah, and I feel like my son got a taste of that D1 experience at the particular high school that he went to. And
Yeah,
so he was already seeing that he couldn't participate
that's
in
right.
just activities at the school and also just really polish off his assignments in quite the way
Right.
that he wanted to. So, yeah, that's a good place to learn, and it's good that you were having those conversations with them about letting them know what they could expect down the road. Um,
That's
mhm. So, like,
a lot of let me add also, Carol, that these clubs, these teams that my children played for, a lot of alums of the club would come back and speak to the kids. So the kids had an opportunity to find out from a peer, somebody just a couple years ahead of them,
mhm.
because sometimes they don't think mom and dad know what they're talking about, right? So, okay, here you can talk to Susan or Sally or
Mhm.
Mike or Chris, who's they're actually where you want to go.
Right.
And that was very beneficial as well.
Mhm. We'll be right back after this. Are you a parent looking to unlock your potential in raising confident, capable, and courageous children? Well, look no further. Join us at the upcoming Parent and Purpose Summit Back to School Edition, where parenting experts from around the world will come together to share their wisdom and insights. I'm Carol Maletta, founder of the Parenting 411. This summit is your opportunity to gain essential skills and tools to become the parent you've always aspired to be. Over 5 incredible days, we'll dive deep into topics like positive discipline, effective communication, mental health, self-care, school readiness, and more. An attendee from our last summit told us, "This summit changed my parenting game. I feel more confident and connected with my children than ever before." So secure your seat at the Parent and Purpose Summit today. Visit parentandpurposesummit2023.com. That's Parent and Purpose Summit 2023.com. And click the registration button to join us on this transformative journey. The Parent and Purpose Summit, where intentional parenting begins. And we're back with the Parenting 411. And so having a graduate and then having another child that's in college, navigating this experience, share some insights on what the day-to-day life is of a college athlete, and you have experience too. I can't
Yeah.
forget that.
Yeah, I feel like when I played volleyball, it was a totally different sport from volleyball today, Carol.
Okay.
So, everything was different. But for Madison, who did graduate in May
Mhm.
with her undergraduate degree, she's now in grad school full time, which and she's still being paid for by Texas A&M. So we're thrilled about that, even
Oh.
though she's here at home with us because
Mhm.
school is 100% online. They're still paying for her, so that is just a win-win, right?
Sure.
But she also, it was because of all that she did during her 4 years of undergrad that she
Mhm.
knew she didn't want to take that fifth year to continue playing.
Okay.
So her typical day, um, and let's just say this is in season at A&M, would have been a breakfast check-in. So you had to check in at breakfast. So that's not something you can eat at home. You got to get up and go to the athlete's dining hall. So she'd have an athlete's breakfast, check in, then class, and then maybe another class. And then it was time to go to the gym. She'd have
Mm.
to get to the gym an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours before practice because she had to do prehab. So if some special stretching, cupping, get taped up, whatever you have to do to prepare for practice, she would do that. She'd then have her 2 hour practice. She would then do weights. Weights is immediately after practice. So you go across the street to the weight facility, go home, go home and shower. Then it's time for tutoring or study hall, whatever time to do your work. Then after that, you maybe have film that you have to watch. You might
Mhm.
have some sort of donor event that you have to participate in as a scholarship athlete, um, and get ready to do it all over again the next day. So there's
Wow.
no free time in there,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And if you're in season, then you're traveling. So some of these days you're going to be flying. You're going to have to travel to a game. You're going to have to play and compete, and then you're going to have to get on the flight and come right back home and
Mm-hmm.
start all over again the next day.
Wow.
So there really were, for Madison, there were no off days. So even if her calendar, and there was a calendar, a team calendar that is sent out every day so she knows exactly what's going on. So
Okay.
if the calendar says off day at the top, like after a game, say
Mm-hmm.
they had a match at South Carolina, and so they fly back home after the match, so they're home like 1 a.m. The next day is off. Well, it's not really off because she's got to go to the training room and get a massage because that's part of post hab, right? Taking care of your body. She's got to go and get her massage. She might have some other post hab training that has to happen. And it might be there might be an activity that evening, a team building activity, or um, a donor dinner where she meets with somebody who is sponsoring like it just never ends. So you have to love
Wow.
it. You have to be 2 feet in it, 10 toes down, because
Mm-hmm.
this is your life.
Mm.
So that
Now,
was volleyball. Go ahead.
now I was going to ask how do you help them learn how to create some kind of balance between the athletics and really carving out a little time for personal growth and all of that? And self-care, I guess.
Right. Well, again, and I basically will die on this hill. There is no balance. It's going to be all it's going to be all sport, whatever that sport is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, what I did encourage her to do was to rest. When there's an opportunity to rest, you need to take advantage of that.
Okay.
And that could be, watching your favorite series on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to go out to your favorite restaurant and get a meal that you really like. Or maybe you want to sleep. Like
Right.
that's what you need to do then.
Mm-hmm.
Like put a load of clothes in the washing machine and go ahead and get in the bed. Like
Right.
you have to take that time to rest and rejuvenate, else you're going to be burned out before you're halfway through the season.
Mm. Well, now I want
Mhm.
to ask you about something that I really think the seeds are planted when they're young, but
Yeah.
we've seen, in games, poor sportsmanship and, just people let the competition just get to them. How do you
Hmm.
start that? How do you plant those seeds when they're young so that they are well
Right.
developed when they're younger and and when they're older rather, and they can keep a cool head when things get hot?
Yeah. I think the number one thing is to remember that you, as the parent, are the example for your child. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the stands flying off the handle, chasing refs, yelling obscenities, that's a bad example. You need to cut it out. But
Mm-hmm.
this is at the crux, I think, of what you're asking me, Carol. Children, my kids understand that the gifts and talents that they have are theirs. They're
Mm-hmm.
not competing with anybody else on the court. All
Mm-hmm.
they're doing is trying to be better than they were the last time they played.
Mm-hmm.
If they struggle in a particular area, then that's where your focus should be, on that particular area. Sometimes the calls don't go your way.
Mm-hmm.
That's how life is.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's against you. It's not, nobody is saying, I'm going to call Cole for a block instead of the charm. I'm not going to do it. Like, nobody's saying that. Everybody has a job to do. You need to focus on yours. And if the call doesn't go your way, then try to figure it out so you can be in a better position next time. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, everybody wants to win, but you have to fall in love with the process, Carol. You have to
Mm-hmm.
fall in love with the training. You can't be in love with the result. The result cannot be your goal, because if the result is your goal, what happens when you reach that goal, right?
Yeah, what are you
What
gonna do?
happens when you win the WCAC championship?
Mm-hmm.
What happens once you get the Division 1 scholarship? What happens when you make it to March Madness? What
Mm-hmm.
happens when you earn the starting position? you're not going to like what's next, right? You're
Right.
always going to be looking for what's next. So it
Mhm.
can't be about the goal. It has to be about the process. So
Mhm.
after you attain one goal and you want to keep going, you know the process and you just continue on that journey, continue with those steps.
Mhm. So as a parent, what would you say have been the most rewarding parts of being a parent to elite athletes and the most challenging?
Most rewarding, hands down, is watching my kids compete and play.
Mhm.
I I love that feeling. I
Mhm.
enjoy the time that I spend with them in the car
Mhm.
to their competitions and on the way back from their game. Like it's invaluable time that I know it's going to end because
Mhm.
they're going to graduate and they're going to move up, go ahead to their next stage of life. So I
Mhm.
really cherish those times.
Mhm.
We we have so many great memories. And then the most challenging would be the relationships that suffer
Mhm.
because of the amount of time we spend in the gym.
Mhm.
And those like my friends, I don't really have any. Um, my family, luck fortunately, we're so blessed that my parents live close by, so they get to come
Mhm.
to a lot of games and events. And my parents are still, they're in great health, so they travel a lot too. So we'll travel to see the kids play.
Mhm.
Um, any free time that I have, I'm laying down. Like I'm on the couch in my sitting room resting and
Mhm.
trying to get ready for the next thing that's coming because I even though my high schooler Cole does have a schedule, it changes.
Mhm.
Every day there's some sort of schedule change and I have to be able to adopt to that and keep going. So I can't do, like a girls trip. I
Mhm.
can't do dinners out because
Mhm.
it's just too difficult to plan. I know what my schedule looks like right now, but when we finish talking, I could have a text message saying practice has been moved or a game has been rescheduled. Like I can't keep up. Right.
Well, do you have any closing words of advice for parents that are just trying to manage the stress and frustration of trying to keep up with it all?
Yeah. Remember, it's a marathon and not a sprint. So it's going to take a while.
Mhm.
And then the other piece is just that recruiting, especially when we're talking about any recruiting really, because only 7% of high school athletes will play Division One. Well, no, will play college sports, period.
That's what I was gonna say, anywhere.
7%.
Mhm.
Yes, 7%. And out of that 7%, only about 1% will receive a full scholarship. So
Mm.
we're talking about two different things here, playing in college and then playing for free.
Right.
Those are entirely different things. So
Mhm.
I like to use the analogy of like a pyramid. So
Okay.
at the bottom, we have more people, of course, right? But as we get higher up, they're not as many.
Mhm.
They're
Mhm.
not as many. So just remember that it's a pyramid or a reverse funnel. The higher up you get, the fewer people there are. So when you're seeking advice, um, or guidance, direction, you need to speak to somebody who's been where you're trying to go, who
Mhm.
can actually help you to order your steps, help you to regulate your mindset so you don't drive yourself crazy, and help you keep from getting caught up in the comparison trap because you're not competing against these other kids on the team. Your
Mhm.
child is competing against themselves.
Mhm. I think that's definitely a good note to close on. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And I know we have parents who listen that have athletes. They may be at the beginning of the journey or further along, but I think you dropped good nuggets for them no matter where they are at the beginning
I hope
or
so.
or closer to the end. And how can we learn more about the support that you provide for parents?
Um, I have an Instagram account and a TikTok account.
Hmm.
And you can just follow me on Facebook if you want to connect. I'm more than happy to. And on social media, it's volleyball ish.
Okay.
Um, and then, yeah, my Facebook is Cinnamon Bowser. So
Okay.
just send me a friend request, and I'd be delighted to chat with you.
Yes, and I have to tell you, as someone that follows you, I know you are very busy, but judging from the success your children have enjoyed, you all as a family have figured this out. So I strongly recommend that listeners seek you out. Remember, Cinnamon Bowser on Facebook and Volleyball-ish on
Yes,
on Instagram. So I wish I had your advice and wisdom back when we were navigating with our children, but I think it all worked out the way
it did work
they
out.
wanted,
Yeah.
the way they wanted. But as always, I appreciate the listeners. Continue to follow us on all of your favorite podcast platforms, the Parenting 411 podcast. Also, you can catch the video of this interview on our YouTube channel, of course, at the Parenting 411. And don't forget to grab my free gift at bit.ly fireproof 2. That's bit.ly fireproof 2. They are encouraging quotes and affirmations for when you feel like you are experiencing any challenges, whether it's in parenting or any other arena that you might find yourself in. And as always, remember that it's never too late to be the parent that you want to be. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait to talk to you next time.